burnout, the strange power of chaste desire. That's the introduction, and we could talk about this because this is really about the mystery of sex being lost, and we can talk about what we mean by that and why does it matter. Today's episode of Sex 101 dives one to the deeper cuts, beyond the porn panic, beyond dating app fatigue. We're asking a deceptively simple question: what happened to the mystery of sex? This is what Elvis Costello asked about in his song, The Mystery Dance. What happened to the mystery of sex in a world of endless swipes on Tinder and viral X posts about hookups? Sex feels drained, like a faded neon sign on Route 66. But beneath the noise, there's a hunger we can't shake, a longing for something sacred that Woodstock's free love or Roe v. Wade's autonomy couldn't fully satisfy. We peel back the layers of this ache. Why does sex feel so hollow now? And what are we still starving for? We're looking into something and finding, if we can, something raw, real, and unfiltered. So this episode cuts deeper than the usual rants about porn or dating app exhaustion. Why does sex feel spent? And what are we still starving for beneath it all? Though it's the starving where most of us modern folks seem to stall, let's unpack this mystery of sex. I mean, the way it once sparked awe, not just a quick thrill. Picture that trembling in a first kiss. I don't know about you, but I remember mine. The soft hush in a lover's voice years later, recalling that electric moment. It's like the Song of Songs puts it: a garden locked, a fountain sealed. Something precious, hidden, set apart from the everyday grind. Back then, sex wasn't a transaction or a consumable good you grab off a shelf. It was a mystery to step into, a veil lifting between two souls, a joining that mirrored our deepest cravings for union and belonging. The Apostle Paul nailed it when he called it a profound mystery, but he wasn't talking fluff. He meant a spiritual bond, a living picture of Christ and the church's sacred dance. Before the modern world turned sex into a public peep show or a commercial racket, it was treated as holy, almost like a sacrament. Imagine it as a flame flickering at the heart of the home, warming, protecting, and holding power to transform. Ancient cultures, from the Greeks with their temple rites to indigenous tribes with their fertility dances, saw sex as a bridge to the divine, not just a bodily itch. I'm reminded of Ian Hunter's restless youth, that raw ache for something lost, wild, yet tethered to truth. Hunter's lyrics capture a spirit-chasing meaning, and youth once held that wildness, that sacred fire. Even in medieval Europe, troubadours sang of courtly love, where sex was a quest for the soul's elevation, not just a romp. That reverence lingered in village weddings, where communities blessed the union, seeing it as a renewal of life's sacred thread. It's a great place to start, don't you think? Yet that's where many of us get stuck. By the mystery of sex, I mean the awe it once inspired, not just physical desire, but a deep reverence. Think of that nervous energy in a first kiss, or the hushed tone of a partner recalling that moment years later, something precious, set apart, not tossed around casually. Before modernity turned sex into a spectacle, think Times Square billboards or reality shows like The Bachelor. It was holy, almost sacramental, like a fire tended in a family hearth. It was protective and powerful. Early American Puritans, despite their strictness, saw marital sex as a divine gift, a belief rooted in their covenantal theology. They'd gather in meeting houses, praying over newlyweds, seeing their union as a reflection of God's order. Even in the 19th century, transcendentalists like Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote of love's spiritual depth, seeing intimacy as a path to the divine. That reverence shaped communities, from Puritan weddings to Native American rituals celebrating life cycles. Consider how we've lost that. In conclusion, but somewhere that thread started fraying. Let's explore why next.
Let's explore indeed. You talk about the mystery of sex being lost. What do you mean by that, and why does it matter, Mr. Meg?
Well, the mystery of sex is powerful. So if we are looking at what people are starving for now, beneath all of that overexposure, we're starving for meaning. Real soul deep meaning. It's not just about pleasure or a quick connection. We're craving what sex used to offer naturally, a sense of purpose that feels eternal. Soren Kierkegaard wrote about this despair when we don't feel loved by God, just used or admired. Sex was once a bridge to that love, a sacred space where two became one and glimpsed something bigger. Now it's reduced to dopamine hits, a performance for Instagram likes, or a checkbox in hookup culture. Think Tinder's endless swipes. Yet we still expect it to deliver intimacy and transformation, like hoping a sparkler can light up a stadium. When it doesn't, the heartbreak feels biblical. Psalm 42's "Why, my soul, are you downcast?" rings true after every empty fling. We're after belonging, not just bodies colliding. I know there are those chasing hookups during the music and arts festival at Coachella only to feel emptier the next day. Even in the 60s, Woodstock's free love left many feeling unfulfilled, as memoirs from that era reveal. I read a diary from a young woman at Haight Ashbury in 1967. She wrote of feeling more alone in a crowd than ever after a casual encounter. Even George Harrison was horrified by the drugged out kids once he was at Haight Ashbury, and he couldn't wait to get back into his limousine. That emptiness still echoes in today's college campuses, where hookup culture reigns but leaves students grappling with loneliness. As studies from UCLA show, why do people chase loneliness? When it falls short, the heartbreak hits like a psalm. Psalms 42's "Why, my soul, are you downcast?" echoes in every hollow fling. People crave belonging, not just bodies bumping. I've heard dance mates gossip about their latest conquests, but their eyes tell a different story: lost, searching. Even in the 60s, when free love's promises, diaries from that era show folks wrestling with emptiness after casual encounters. In conclusion, we're not just after more sex, we're after a mystery that feeds the soul.
That's powerful, Mr. Mick. So, what are people starving for now beneath all that overexposure about sex?
So, with that overexposure, we can trace how did we get here? What led to the loss? It didn't happen overnight. It's been a slow unraveling, a series of breaks pulling sex from its roots. First, the sexual revolution of the 60s shook things up. It challenged outdated norms which needed to happen. Think of the feminist push against rigid roles, like Betty Friedan's The Feminine Mystique, but it also cut sex loose from commitment, turning it into something transactional, a currency to spend. By the 70s, Hugh Hefner's Playboy empire made sex a lifestyle product, often leaving women objectified and men chasing an empty ideal. Shows like Charlie's Angels glamorize this shift, mixing liberation with a new kind of commodification, where sex appeal sold everything from TV ratings to shampoo. Then we separated sex from its biological and spiritual meaning. St. Augustine said, "Sex isn't evil, but needs order within marriage, open to life." When we reduced it to just biology, we lost its soul. The 73 Roe v. Wade decision, while empowering for choice, also shifted focus to autonomy over sacredness for some. Fast forward to the digital age, porn turned intimacy into a spectacle. Think Pornhub's billions of views, while apps like Bumble made connection a game. AI fantasies now blur the other into a simulation. Eric Vogelein's disenchantment fits here. The sacred got stripped away, leaving us hollow. In the 90s, the rise of MTV's spring break specials turned sex into a public party, further eroding its intimacy. We can consider how this is playing out today. In conclusion, how do you see this playing around you?
Yes, indeed. Can you trace how we get there or we get here, Mr. Mick, and what led to this loss?
Well, when we talk about the loss and how we got here, many listeners might wonder, are you saying we should go back to purity culture, back to shame? Not at all. Not backward, but sacred again. We need restoration, not repression. Holiness means being set apart, not shamed. like a fire in a hearth, warming and sustaining, but dangerous if uncontained. The answer isn't to extinguish it, but to tend it with care, balancing freedom and restraint. St. John Chrysostom saw marriage as a mystery, reflecting Christ's self giving love, faithfulness, and transformation. That's the approach. Sex is a sacred gift, not a quick fix. In early America, Quaker communities viewed marriage as a covenant, a shared journey blessed by faith. And during the Second Great Awakening in the 1800s, revivalists preached about renewing family life as a sacred calling, urging couples to see intimacy as a divine partnership. Today, that reverence could heal us. Imagine couples committing to truly see each other beyond the physical. In conclusion, what might that look like today?
So, how does someone begin to restore that mystery, Mr. Meg?
It begins with intentionality. First, slow down. We're in a world of instant everything. Think Amazon Prime for relationships. But mystery takes time, like a slow cooked Thanksgiving meal. Second, cultivate hunger, not desperation, but a longing for something real, like the anticipation before a beautiful rock concert that you enjoy. Third, engage fully. Sex isn't just physical, it's emotional, spiritual, and relational. Fourth, invite God in. It might sound old fashioned and old school, but Psalm 139:13 says, "You knit me together." Our desires are His design. It's about reverence, not rules. A couple I know started praying together before intimacy, not out of guilt, but to honor it. Their bond grew stronger. There is wildness with heart. There's space for passion, rooted in truth. Try small steps. Share a quiet moment. Write down what you hope for. I've seen this work at retreats in the Pacific Northwest where couples use guided journaling to reconnect, often rediscovering desire through shared vulnerability. Even simple acts like watching the sunrise together in silence can rekindle that sacred spark. In conclusion, what might you try?
Try it, people. Connect to the Almighty. It's something else. That challenges a lot of people. Are not there those who think sex is private or even dirty?
Exactly. We're caught between two lies. Sex is everything or it's shameful. Both strip away its mystery. The truth, it's holy, messy, complicated, but grace. Hosea's story in the Bible shows this. His marriage reflected God's faithfulness through betrayal. Sex carries beauty and struggle, a battlefield and a temple. Couples I have known who've survived infidelity know this. They've rebuilt sacredness in the ashes. Mystery isn't magic tricks, it's reverence for something bigger. In the civil rights era, American churches often frame marriage as a sacred refuge amid struggle, a space to reclaim dignity. Leaders like Martin Luther King spoke of love as a transformative force, even in the bedroom where couples could find strength. That awe could guide us now. Have you sensed that holiness in your own life? Mystery isn't fairy dust, it's reverence for something vast. In old Celtic rites, couples circled sacred stones, seeing sex as a life force tie. Today, that awe could reclaim it, perhaps through a quiet blessing before lovemaking. In conclusion, is there one way that you can feel that holiness?
Mr. May, can you share a story that shows the mastery alive?
There's one that sticks with me.
Uh,
A couple married, there's a mystery alive, married 5 years with kids and work stress, had become more like roommates. Sex was rare, routine. One night, after months of disconnect, he reached for her hand in bed. No words, just a gentle touch. She didn't pull away. They made love slowly, rediscovering each other. She cried, not from pain, but because she felt seen, chosen. It was sacred, like Hesed, God's steadfast love. I saw something similar at a retreat where couples reconnected, finding holiness in vulnerability. Another couple I met in Austin, Texas, shared how they lost that spark after a miscarriage. But a weekend away, dancing under the stars at a local festival brought them back to each other. It's a reminder the mystery's still there. Another time, a widow I found and met found peace in memories of her late husband's touch, a mystery unbroken. She'd light a candle each anniversary, feeling his presence. These moments remind us it's never truly lost. I've seen similar sparks in retreats where couples reconnect through silence, not just words. In conclusion, it's the quiet that rekindles the flame.
Quietness is the key, people. What would you say to someone who feels like too late, who lost their mystery?
It's never too late. Mystery isn't just for the young or unscarred, it's a posture of the heart, a surrender to something greater. You might have years of scars, but grace is bigger. Start by naming that ache. Ask God, what if sex could be sacred again? A woman I met at a conference, jaded after a divorce, prayed that and later found a partner who truly saw her. It's a journey. Start small, maybe with a quiet moment of reflection. Even in Florida retirement homes, I've heard of rekindled intimacy. A widower in Miami told me he found a connection again through letters he wrote to his late wife, rediscovering love's sacredness with a new partner. In conclusion, even in care homes, I've heard elderly couples whisper of rekindled intimacy. Age doesn't dim the sacred.
Mr. Mick, final word. What are we still starving for?
We're starving to be known, not used, to be held, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, to be chosen at our worst, not just our best. That Eden dream of being naked and unashamed of Genesis 2:25 still lingers. Every swipe, every hookup, every lonely night whispers it. We want union with another, with meaning, with God. I've seen friends chase flings at Burning Man only to feel emptier after. In the 90s, MTV's The Real World showcased raw intimacy, but today's reality TV often feels hollow. That ache is a compass. Follow it. Mystery doesn't wrap up neatly, it starts with surrender, the most intimate act of faith. A couple I know in Seattle recommitted after betrayal, finding that sacredness again. In therapy groups, I've watched people weep as they reclaim intimacy's depth. I've seen this hunger in small town diners where folks share stories of love lost over pie, searching for that connection. At a recent event in Nashville, a songwriter shared how his marriage fell apart after years of chasing fame, but rediscovering faith brought him back to his wife and to a deeper love. In conclusion, let that hunger guide you. What's one way you'll secret?
Very well said, Mr. Mick. Very well said. Another great topic on Sex 101. Sex has been stripped of its scared shadow of lathered into a commodity, exhausted by algorithms, pornified by aesthetics, and the tyranny of performance where intimacy once held echoes of divine. Mr. Mick, would you like to plug in something?
Sure, if you wouldn't mind, the Doctor of Digital podcast, you can listen to that. Also, find me on School. That's ASKOOL, where you get writing tips and you can join communities and help out writing a book and getting the word out there. I do have two books out on Amazon, Burning America and On Track Ian Hunter. Pick those up at your convenience.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Mick because if you support him more and more empowered authors to come, and for sure more empowering episodes of the podcast itself. And please do listen to our baby podcast, Mental Health 101. And Mental Health 101 is created to empower our mental health awareness. Mr. Mick, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, my friend. Until next time, Deus Volt.
More to come, people. See you soon.